All right, little quickie shop tour here. So the biggest thing is a limit for space, right? We could all use a gigantic shop. Well, I don't have that. I have a 2-car garage that I get to use half of. So what I did was I set it up like a restaurant kitchen, like a galley style kitchen where everything has a workstation so that I don't have to move anything to work. The knife just starts at one area and basically progresses its way down. So let me show you. We'll go station by station, but this will be really quick. I mean, it's not like I have anything elaborate. It's half of a 2-car garage. So roughly, space-wise, 8 feet wide. So you see from the belts here to that wall over there, it's 8 feet and a couple of inches. I could squeeze that down to 8 feet easily. I have the room in the middle to walk, and I could probably squeeze a foot out of that if I had to. So it's 8 feet wide, and being a car garage, it's 20 feet long. As you can see, I could get rid of a few feet there if I had to as well. I wish I had more room. If I did, like for instance, if I had that side of the garage as well, you know, my stingy family would quit putting their stuff in the garage. Anyway, I'd have a real Bridgeport over here and all kinds of stuff, but I would not change this part at all. So let me show you what I've got. So here we start with the grinding area, of course. So grinder bench. This is where all the dirty work gets done. I've got my KMG grinder. I've got my disc setup here, which, okay, the bane of every knife maker is used belts. No good for bevels anymore, but they're still plenty good for other things. I don't know if anybody who's ever come up with a good place to put them. And that's just a iron horse motor with a 1-degree disc on it. Bolted it directly down to the bench itself and put my dust collector under it. Works like a champ. Old pen turning wood lathe in the back. It's used about the 12th day of never, but you know, that's why it's there, looking all decrepit. Then this thing, bandsaw, use it on everything, right? My little $200 bandsaw, love it to death. It's one of the things where if I had a big enormous shop, I would get a big full size, you know, professional bandsaw that could actually resaw with straight lines, straight cuts. But this works, gets me by. Tucked up under here is my heat treat oven, and that's a 21.5-inch oven. And because it's over here on the dirty side, I'm a big believer in Harbor Freight moving blankets. They keep the dirties off all my stuff when I'm not using it. The drill press. This was probably the first real tool I bought after I got a grinder. I started off my whole knife making operation with that KMG grinder and a 30-year-old benchtop 10-inch drill press. So when I upgraded to this with the 1-horse motor on it, this was a game changer. Absolute game changer. I love that thing. And you know what's great about a drill press? It takes about as much room as 2 brooms and a mop. You can jam that sucker into anywhere. Toolboxes. We come down here to my little mini mill. Use this thing. This thing doesn't owe me $1. Would I love to have a real mill? Absolutely. But this guy right here has paid for itself so many times over. When it craps out, I'll get a better mill. Would I buy it again knowing what I know now? Well, what do you say to that? I mean, if money was no option, no, I wouldn't. I'd have started with a much bigger mill that I wouldn't have to replace. And I preach that to everybody all the time. Don't buy anything you already plan to replace. But at the time, I had never used a milling machine before. I had no idea if I would get any use out of it. And as it turns out, I use that sucker almost as much as I use the grinder. Cannot imagine life without a mill, especially when it comes to folders. And then we work our way down. Air conditioner, probably the best thing I ever added living here in the swamps of Florida. And then under this mat is my metal lathe. Shelves, gotta have shelves. There's all my battery equipment, power strip, welding helmet. So if I back up here, that's one side of the shop. From grinding, cutting the handles, drill press, an array of tools. So the tools for each station, what you need for each station lives at the station. My whole idea behind efficiency is don't walk around in circles, right? Nobody's paying you to walk. Down here to the lathe, brain farted there. Over here, move over. There's all my patterns. There's a sign that a customer made me. I love that sign. Weighs about 800 pounds. I've actually got it hanging from the rafters in the attic. Oh, and ladder storage overhead. There's all my patterns and stuff. This is actually what I consider my hand sanding bench. So the vise, as you see, has my jig in here, or my platform rather. It's just a couple pieces of angle iron with some leather glued to the top. It's double wide because I do a lot of kitchen knives. In fact, I was just working on one last night. I take that out. This is actually my handle jig. As you can see, it's just a piece of pipe with 2 pieces of wood in it. I took a 2-inch dowel and cut it in half. You know, most guys have their knife vise kind of a standalone thing. For me, I've already got a vise. So I put my handle vise, I need 3 hands here. I put my handle vise in my shop vise. I can up, down, spin it any kind of way that I want to. Wouldn't be without it. My granite block with my height gauge, a knife that's going out the door. And for all you guys who can manage to glue up a handle and keep it clean and so it doesn't look like this when you tear their paper towels off, I just want you to know from the bottom of my heart I hate you. Drill doctor. If you don't have a drill doctor, get one. Buffing station. And this is just a little cheapy Harbor Freight buffer. I think I gave 40 bucks for it. It's the super wimpy one. It goes fast, but it doesn't have a lot of power. It will grab something and throw it back there against the wall, but it's not the mega death dealer buffer. Sandpaper from rough to fine. Everybody's got that in their shop. So if we turn back and we look this way, the other half of the shop going out, there's my general toolbox for everything under the sun, for all the non-knife stuff, pretty much. This is my clean bench. So this is where general stuff gets done, you know, your work surface. This is where I do my leather work. This is where I do my layouts. This is my general place where I live. This is where I do all my stuff. Gunsmithing vise. As you can tell, this is my everything bench, right? Do my reloading here. Oh, let me show you my accounts receivable department. Receipts and packing slips go here. Knives that are going to ship out to Johan Nell one of these days is there. This is actually a customer of mine who wanted to make his own knife. And over the course of forever, he comes over and works on it about, you know, half an hour at a time. More reloading stuff, case tumblers, that kind of stuff. Oh, there's the other side. That's the shipping and receiving department. This is the shipping and receiving packing. Everybody needs a tote bin full of packing material. You know, every time you buy stuff on Amazon or whatever, you throw it in the tub, and that gets added to the shipping and receiving department. So, working our way back. So again, remember I said I work in stations? Heat treating ovens down there. Comes over here to the hot bench. The hot bench has my quench plates. Vise for straightening. You know, edges. If you work with AEBL, you'll get real good at straightening blades. That stuff warps like nobody's business. Again, hot bench. Spot welder for folders. I weld my bolsters on. Put them in here to do any kind of torching, that kind of stuff. My little Atlas mini forge that I started out with and I still use from time to time. I don't do a ton of forging. It suits my purposes. I've done some really big knives, and so I knocked the back off of it, knocked a big hole so I could pass things in and out of it. I know it's about as white trashy as it gets, but you know, I get by. All my steel, my quench bucket, sand for my sand blaster, little portable sand blaster. And over here, I've just got my little bitty anvil, my welder. So over here is mainly gun stuff, right? So this really doesn't count for the shop. And this stuff will make its way over there eventually. I'm always trying to maximize my efficiency. So this cart is a little too short. You can see I've got all my steel here and my attachments for my grinder. That just kind of got put there because I had it. So what's going to happen is I'm going to knock the end off of that cart, extend it to be the length out here, so it'll be as long as it is now without this table. That'll all be cart so that I can wheel my hot work stuff out here to forge, wheel it back in without having to take all this stuff loose. Then I can get rid of this table that doesn't really serve any purpose at all other than giving me somewhere to put stuff because the cart's not long enough. So again, it's always, everything I do is about making my space count, because in my shop, the one thing I don't have is space. And anytime I go to buy a new tool, the rule of thumb is it has to be worth the amount of space that it takes up. Because if you gave me a 60 by 60 shop, I'd fill it up. And then I'd walk around in circles doing exactly what I do now in 8 by 20. So this is my 8 by 20 shop, which could absolutely be squeezed out. Here's the only thing that's not in my knife shop proper. I stuffed my bandsaw over here, mainly just to get it out of the way. You know, for a long time, it used to live over here in the crack, and then I got the air conditioner, so this came over here and it just hasn't moved. So that's the only thing, you know. Of course, if this wasn't a garage, it would just be occupy this space here, but I need the walk space more than anything. So it's not hurting anything there. That's my one knife making thing that's actually outside of my 8 by 20 side. So that's it in a nutshell. Oh, and my fan. Now how's this for white trash ingenuity? It's just a box fan on a Lazy Susan bearing hanging upside down that I can point at wherever I happen to be working in the shop. Some interesting stuff here. This is our own Justin Wells, as you can see. Really doing some great things. Other fun stuff. Bow lube. Thank you, John Doyle. John Doyle turned me onto this stuff. That's a game changer. That's the best cutting lubricant I've ever seen. What we got over here? Got a little Mr. Ed Caffrey Master Smith Signature Series sanding block. So, thank you for coming to the shop. Hope I didn't take up too much of your time. And I'll see all you guys online.